guys! I've got a really interesting planner to show you today. This is called the Productivity Planner by Lux, and I found it on Amazon UK. Lux is a British company that seems to specialize in making this planner. They've got a website which I will link down below. So this planner is A5 size and it comes in, I think, 4 different colors. This is the navy blue one. It also comes in black and I think red and one other color. This is the one that I like the best. So I'll just show you in comparison to my trusty Hobonichi cousin. Looks a little bit smaller than the cover of the cousin, so it is actually proper A5 size. And it's a hardback with a vegan leather cover. The cover is a little bit spongy to the texture, not very textured. You can see here that's what it looks like up close. And on the front it says Lux with a little light bulb design debossed, and then it says Productivity Planner. It has an elastic closure. This is what it looks like on the side. It's completely blank, and then on the back as well it just has the back of the elastic, and you can see that it has a pen loop, which immediately drew me to it because I love it when bound planners have a built-in pen loop. So it has rounded corners, and the paper also has rounded corners, which is a really nice touch, and you can see that it's quite chunky. That's what it looks like from the top and the side. So it's definitely portable. I would say it's comparable to a Hobonichi cousin if you compare them side by side. But as you'll see in a minute, this is a daily planner. It doesn't have a weekly section. So if we open it, we have a blank end page, which is cardstock, not super heavy, and you have 2 bookmarks. One is navy blue and one is white, and then it says Productivity Planner here in the same font. This is something that I really like about this planner, is that they're very consistent with the font. You see the same font reproduced quite a bit throughout the planner. It's similar to the Scribbles That Matter font. So here you have contents, and you've got a little bit of dot grid around the side, which I think is a nice touch. It's grey, and it has quite a detailed table of contents, which starts off with some pre-printed pages that give you information, which I'll show you in a minute. And then it has a table of contents for your weeks, which I think is really interesting. So it's labeled the weeks from 1 to 26. So basically this planner, if you used it every day, would be enough for about half the year. But it's undated, so you might end up using this over a whole year or longer, depending on how often you need it. So you can put in the dates yourself, which I think is an interesting touch. I've never seen that in a planner before. And following along in the bullet journal style, it labels all of the pages. The pages are all pre-numbered. So this, I would say, kind of like the Scribbles That Matter bullet planner that I reviewed a couple of weeks ago, is another planner that's almost like a hybrid between a bullet journal and a traditional planner. And the dot grid reinforces that feeling a bit. And then at the end you've got some extra pages, finance tracker, savings projects, and notes, ideas, and lists, which we will look at. So you then have this copyright page, and the first of about 10 different inspirational quote pages, which they all have this kind of geometric design in different colors, but they're mostly primary colors, red, yellow, blue, and then you've also got black, and this one has green. So they're all these kind of geometric designs, and I really like this one. I like all the quotes in this. They just add a bit of color to the planner, which is otherwise black and white and gray. Then you have a few pages of instructions, and you can see here the page numbers. I really like this effect, how they are white in a little black box. So it explains things about productivity and SMART goals, and it gives you an example of the planner pages when they're filled in, which I think is really nice. Usually, as you know, I prefer planners that just go straight into the heart of the matter and don't have a lot of explanation, but this one is okay because it only has a few pages. You can see that's where it ends. So most of these instructions are just examples of completed planner pages so you can see how they would use them, and then a little bit of explanation. So I think that that can be quite nice because it can give you a concrete idea of how you might want to use each of these pages. And we'll look at these as we go through the planner so you can see what's there. But it's got some tips about savings and project planning, how to use the month at a glance and the finance tracker and the reflection pages and everything that we'll be looking at in the planner. So I think that this is quite nice. And then you've got another saying which I really like, and a different geometric design there. Then we start with our first planner spread, and this is long-term goals. So it says make them smart, and then you've got 2 blocks per page, main goal, milestones, and then it repeats itself, main goal and milestones. So you could use each of these for one goal, and it helps you to break it up into smaller chunks. So then it's got plan start date, actual start date, plan completion date, and actual completion date. And if we go back here, they give you an example of how you might use this. So this says publish my first novel 2 years from now, and then it's got the milestones, formulate a detailed plot, write the entire body of the book, and then it's got some planned start dates, which I think are really funny because it gives 2084 to 2086. So really long-term planning there. And I think that makes it quite concrete how you could use this to break down a big project into smaller goals, and then it's nice that it's got the dates there. So you get 4 of these, so you could have 4 different goals. And then you go over to your month at a glance spread. So it gives you 1 month per page. And as I mentioned, it's undated and it has a Monday start, which I love. And then it gives you a space to write the month and the year. And it's got a little small box in the top right for you to write the date in. Because this is 1 month per page, the boxes are quite small. So you really can't use this for detailed planning. They've given examples here, Andy's birthday, get new phone contract. So you could probably fit in a couple of words like that. So it really seems like the idea for this is just to use it as a bird's eye view forward planner. So you can't really do detailed planning in here. I'm thinking of this in comparison to the Hobonichi Cousin, where you get quite a lot of room in the monthly spreads, if we're thinking that these are both A5 size, but obviously this is a month on 2 pages. So it's double the space. And you get enough here for the whole year. As I mentioned, if you are using this planner every day, it will only last you about half a year, but you can use this for forward planning even if you need to transfer over to another planner. And as I said, because it's a daily planner, which we will see in a minute, you might well not need it every day. So I think if I am going to use this, I would use it as a daily planner and it would last me quite a lot longer than half a year. So all of the monthly spreads are in the same place, which I really like, and that's obviously in this case just because it's an undated planner, so it wouldn't really make much sense to intersperse them with the days. Then we go over to the daily planner. So this is what the bulk of the planner looks like. It says daily planner at the top. The whole thing is grey dot grid, which I really like. I think the aesthetic on this planner is very nice. It's minimalist and streamlined, but I think that it looks really good. It looks clean, and I like this font, and I also like the more typeset kind of font that they've chosen here. It's sans serif, and it looks kind of like Arial, but not really. It's rounder. I don't know what it's called, but I think that it looks really good. It looks crisp, and I think that it fits well with this. For some reason, I think that the whole aesthetic looks really good overall, the way that they've designed it. So I think another thing that makes it look nice is that you've got all of the headings in these black boxes with little arrows. So I think it looks really good. So you've got a place to write the date here, and then to circle the day of the week. And again, it's a Monday start. And then it's got quite an interesting structured layout, which reminds me of the Inkwell Press Daily Planner. So at the top here it says critical tasks, and you've got 3 check boxes. So it's following the well-known system where you have your top 3. And then it has other tasks. There are about 10 lines, I would say, for you to write other tasks. So this is an example of how they've got in mind that someone could use it. So the top 3 there, and then a few other tasks using kind of bullet journal system there. Then it has today's wins, which is a nice feature, and progress towards your goals. So I think here the idea is that you kind of look back towards these long-term goals and keep an eye on how you've managed to work toward them that day. And then it has a slot for exercise, some water tracking glasses here, and then it has a little checkbox and it says migrated tasks and prepared for tomorrow. So again, it's based on the bullet journal idea of migrating tasks, and you know, I think it's thinking anything that you didn't manage to finish, you transfer over till the next day. And then it has a place to put in a productivity score. So all of these things you could obviously use for something else. Say exercise, if you didn't want to track that, you could use that for something else. The same with progress and today's wins, although I feel like if something is written in a planner, I don't really like covering it up with washi or stickers generally, and I feel like I have to follow what's written there, but I'm quite type A, so I think somebody else might not be bothered by covering this up and using it for something else because you have got these slots here. Same with the productivity score, you could use that for something else. And then on the right you have the day's schedule, and it starts at 6 a.m. and goes until 10 p.m. So it's a reasonably long schedule. As you know, I like it when they go until midnight, but most planners don't do that, and quite often they only go until 8 p.m. So I think going till 10 is pretty good. And it gives you 2 lines per hour, which I also really like. So you can write things in on the half hour. And you get quite a bit of room for the schedule. So if you don't need a schedule in a daily planner, you could quite easily just ignore this and use it for more to-do lists, which I think I might do. But it's nice to have the option of the schedule there if you need it. And as you can see, the page numbers are still there. They continue throughout the whole thing, which is another thing that makes it feel a little bit like a bullet journal to me. And then it continues for a week. And then at the end of 7 days, you get a page that says reflection on last week. So it's got biggest wins of last week, things to be grateful for, distractions and how to reduce them, self-improvement ideas, goals for the week ahead. And then some places to track things like habits, goals, time spent on various tasks, a little rating system, a checkbox that says check next week's schedule, and then a reward for hitting goals. So the whole thing is very much goal oriented, accomplishment oriented, productivity focused, which is quite nice. I think in some cases it might be useful to have it be like maybe a little bit less structured. In some cases I usually prefer to have blank boxes and things that I can decide what to do with myself, but this is also really useful if you want to have a kind of discipline or structure helping you get through the things that you want to get through. And I think these boxes are flexible enough that you could customize them to, you know, use them in ways that are helpful to you. So just a little example here, the reflection on last week, they've just kind of added in a few things here, and it says here, it says time spent watching TV. So if that was something that you wanted to track and cut down on, say, you could use it there. Or if you wanted to, the thing that came to my mind was work hours. So you could, you know, like track how long you're working every day if you want to monitor that. And then here it's got habit 1, yoga, and a little place to tick it. So 3 times 30-minute sessions. Habit 2, prep lunch at home. Oh yes. And then it's got this little circle here for how well the week went, and it gives you some instructions here as well for ideas for how to use it, which I think all of us planner addicts are familiar with anyway. And then you have a nice feature, which is a blank page just with dot grid, notes, ideas, and lists. Let me just bring it up a bit closer so you can see what the dot grid looks like. So it's a very nice light gray, which I think complements the darker printing here really well. And then you go back into the daily planner and you get another 7 days of that, and then the same thing, the reflection and the notes and ideas, and it carries on like that, occasionally it's interspersed with one of these motivational pages. And I really like all of these. I think that they're all nicely chosen. Here's another one. Failure is not an option. And this one, people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. So they're not huge numbers of these, but they are, they appear throughout the planner often enough that it's a nice little surprise when you get to one. Here's another one. And then when we get to the end, so that goes on until page 270. So if it started with the weekly spreads on page 30, I think, 32, you can see that's quite a big chunk of daily spreads that you get. The only issue with this, I think, because it's undated, is that if you don't use this every day, the reflections will be kind of uneven, because like say you only use this 3 days a week, you're not going to get to the reflection on last week for a couple of weeks, which may or may not be an issue. So I think that I would probably take this with a grain of salt and use the reflections page just as a more sporadic check-in. So because if this were me using it as a daily planner, this would be a supplement to my weekly planner, which would be my main planner, and might not need this every week. But because it's A5 and quite portable, you could use it as your main planner if that's what you wanted, and then you could just go through and date it, and then you would be able to use this as a reflection at the end of every week, which I think is probably what I would do if I were using this as my main planner, and you totally could do that. So here we get to the extras. So we have a finance tracker which goes for 6 pages. And again, at the beginning, it gives you some ideas for how to use this, which I actually think is really helpful, because sometimes when I get these spreads in a planner, I'm not quite sure how to use it in practical terms, as in I think, oh, that's a good idea. It would be useful to have a finance tracker. But then sometimes it's nice just to have an example of how someone has actually used it. So month, year, with the same little arrow in black, which I really like. I think that this is a nice aesthetic touch that they've done. Then you have date, category, description, cash, credit card or debit card, amount, and balance. And so I think that the idea is that you would write down all of your expenses here, or maybe just the main expenses or the recurring expenses. I think if I were using this, I couldn't track all of my expenses in this because there are too many small ones, but you could use it to track the main things, or you could use it, I guess, to kind of make a budget. So just to go back to the beginning here, they use it like this. So on the first, salary, payday, the amount, and then car insurance, weekly shop, candles, swimming, and they've got the category salary, car, food, home, leisure, health, pet. So I think that they do have the idea that they are using it for everything, and it lasts a month. So that actually makes sense, because if you get 6 of these and this planner is supposed to last 6 months, then you could use this for all of your expenses, which for me would be quite tough. And so I think that would be good, because if I knew I only had space for this many expenses, then I would just really try not to spend a lot of money, which is perhaps the point. So that's the finance tracker. And then you've got a page here for savings, and they also give you an idea of how to use this. So if you wanted to save for something like, it says new car, then you kind of add up how much you need, and then you kind of cross off when you've achieved that. And this is the kind of spread that I really like, because it's open, so it doesn't have any labels, which I think is great, because then you can use it however you want to, and the rest of it is just dot grid. Then we've got another quote, and then we go into the project planner. So this is kind of similar to the long-term goals page at the beginning, this one, but this one has more space for different tasks. So you get 2 double page spreads of these, so you have room for 4 different projects, which I think is quite good for a planner that's designed to be used for half a year. So their example here, and I'm just showing these because I think it's nice to have built-in examples already. It's really convenient. So new website build, and then you have all of these different tasks and who they're assigned to. So depending on what you're using this for, that may or may not be relevant. It could be just you doing all of these things, but this one is designed for a more work type setting where you've got different people working on different aspects of the project, and then dates where they're due, if they're complete or not. And you can obviously use them in other ways, I think, as well. Like you could, if you wanted to, use it as a habit tracker even. It couldn't be for something that goes for the whole month with the number of dates that they've given you, but you could use it if you, like, say, had a couple of different habits that you were tracking. You could just divide this into 4 weeks, and then you could use that for the month as a habit tracker. So you've got these 4 project planner pages, and then you have a couple of pages at the end for notes, ideas, and lists, which is just plain dot grid again. And on the back one, I have done a pen test. So I've tested all of my different fountain pen nib sizes, and also the 2 different sizes of Erin Condren marker, and this is what I got. So it's pretty good. There is almost no bleed through, just like a tiny bit here with the Erin Condren thick marker, and a tiny bit here with the Parker 51 medium, which isn't really a surprise because that's quite heavy. And then for the rest of it, there's a bit of ghosting, but it's pretty good. So I would say that this paper is quite fountain pen friendly. And, you know, unless you want to use, one of the thicker nib sizes, you'll get some shadowing, but it's really not bad, and little to no ghosting, which was kind of a surprise to me because the paper does not feel that luxurious. It feels to me like it's about 80 GSM. I couldn't find the GSM anywhere. Possibly 90, but I don't think it's any more than that, although I could be wrong. But you can see from the feeling, it feels kind of like average, I guess, but it seems to hold up quite well. And then you have this cardstock end piece, and then you have a pocket. What band planner would be complete without a pocket? The Hobonichi, I guess. But it's not reinforced, so it's just cardstock in the gusset here, so keep that in mind, but it's nice to have a pocket, and that's it. So overall, I think that this is a really nicely designed, very aesthetically pleasing, and thoughtfully laid out planner, which can be really useful as a daily planner. So I hope you found this useful. Please let me know if you've got any questions about it that I haven't covered. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!